Hey, you're looking for a podcast where you can hear from some great hockey legends? Well, this is the right place. It's the Domino's Pizza Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Gino Retta. Today's guest, he's won everything. Stanley Cup champion, a member of the exclusive Triple Gold Club. There's only 30 members in hockey history. That means he won a Stanley Cup, Olympic gold, World Championship gold, World Cup gold. He's a Hockey Hall of Famer, the pride of Simcoe, Ontario, the unofficial mayor of Manhattan Beach, California. Our buddy Rob Blake. Rob, it is so good to see you, buddy. You look fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Nice to talk to you today.
So I call you the mayor, the unofficial mayor of Manhattan Beach. I should clarify to the fans who don't know this. You're still making your home in Manhattan Beach. That's where we're talking to you right now.
Yeah.
And you are apparently a surfing legend. Are you still surfing?
I am. I try to go a few days a week. It's just been something for the last 20 years. Guys have golf, they have different things, and there's a group of us here that hop in the water when we can and kind of set your day up.
Blake, I was lucky enough to cover you for your entire career, your 1,200 games. I didn't see all 1,200 games, but I got to cover that. Your Stanley Cup win, your Olympic gold. Was there when you were inducted in 2014 in the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is so awesome to see. You're a family man, a father, a surfer dude, like I say, in Manhattan Beach. Do you sometimes kind of sit back and go, I can't believe this is the life I've lived as a young kid who grew up in Simcoe, Ontario?
Yeah, I mean, especially back in that time, you grew up, you just played hockey. Like that was everyone in our family did. I grew up on a farm. We had a pond, and you skate there all winter long. And the next thing, it just led to to playing junior, to going to college, and then getting drafted by the furthest possible place away from where I grew up in LA at that time. And then they go and trade for Wayne Gretzky, the year after I was drafted. So now it all comes full circle. No, it's been just fortunate to be around the game. I mean, we love talking about the game. We love the game of hockey, and be able to do it for your whole life is very, very fortunate situation.
You touched on a bunch of little stories that we're going to get to. The fact that the Kings traded for Wayne right after they drafted you, which I assume was all because of you. They figured, we'll bolster this team and go for a win right now. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, to you personally, what's it like for you right now this fall? I mean, you grew up in the game from the moment I'm sure you could remember. Every fall you were playing hockey. Every fall you were really busy, whether it was in minor hockey and then at Bowling Green where you played your college hockey, then in the NHL, then as a general manager. What's it been like for you? Because for those who don't know, you left the Kings back in May. So this is the first time in the fall where you're not a busy, crazy guy right now.
Well, that's what I thought it was going to be like that. The summer, the older kids were home from school and then they go back, but I still have a young one here, and he's in the midst of youth hockey here, travel hockey in California. So, our Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it's all at the rink, the same thing, enjoying the youth hockey and being part of it. The routine, obviously, after Labor Day was, whether you're playing or in management, you get settled right in. And, it's been a different type of transition, but it's been still focused around hockey and mostly youth hockey right now.
I got to tell you, it kind of caught me off guard. I've been covering the general managers meetings. I covered you as a player for years, and I've been covering the general managers meetings now for years. And you spent 8 as a GM in LA with the Kings and had a lot of success. I think you made the playoffs in 5 of the 8 years. But there are also some kicks in the groin where you got eliminated 4 straight years by McDavid and the Oilers in the opening round. That had to be hard. I honestly didn't see it coming initially that you were going to be pulling away from the Kings, because you had an opportunity. Your buddy Luc Robitaille runs the organization. You probably could have stayed on if you wanted to, but you made the interesting call to pull away. How did you go about making that call?
Yeah, well, I just think, you go year after year, and you touched on 4 years in a row, not being able to get out of the first round and to the same team. And, I've always said this along the way. I've had to hold players accountable. I've had to hold coaches accountable in the same situations. It just moves up the ladder. And I just felt at that time that, stepping away from the organization is the ultimate goal is to win. And over the course of the 8 years, we got back to the playoffs and had strong regular seasons, but we just couldn't get over that first round. And, I think the transition into Kenny Holland, who's a terrific GM and may just have some other buttons or different avenues to go to help push this team past that.
I know you're busy now with your kids. You mentioned your 12-year-old plays hockey. Your older kid plays at Bowling Green where you played your college hockey. Are you done, or are you? I mean, to me, I just look at you and go, "This is a guy who knows too much about the game not to be involved in the game." I know you've earned the right to step away if you choose to, but are you ready to step away yet, or are you just kind of in a pause right now?
Yeah, I don't think I was ready to step away ever. It was just a situation I knew was going to take place there at the end of the year, but still want to be involved in hockey and continue at that level. There'll be a time and a place where I hopefully get back into it. And like you said, I just think you've been through so many different situations as a player, as management for the last 35 plus years. There's different experiences that I definitely think I could share with other organizations and help them in different situations.
All right, I want to get back to your roots. You mentioned this. I want to get to this. The way it kind of all unfolded for you, and I think there were some moments along the things that happened to you in your hockey career, which I kind of like. I got to be there to experience and to watch them unfold, but I never really got to sit down with you and say, "What was that like for you?" So you're a kid at Bowling Green. The LA Kings draft you. This is pre Gretzky, like barely pre Gretzky. They draft you, and at that point, the LA Kings were kind of an afterthought in the NHL. Let's be honest. Wayne changed it. But before Wayne got there, before you got there, before the success you guys had, it was an afterthought. What was you're sitting there at Bowling Green thinking, love to play in the NHL. The LA Kings, seriously? I'm drafted by the Kings. What was that like for you?
Yeah, and I don't think there was obviously the pre-draft coverage that we do now, where we're interviewing players and doing all that. My family and I drove to the draft in Montreal because we had an advisor that said, "Well, you should probably go. There might be a chance you get drafted or whatever." I'd never spoken to LA or any of the teams, and show up and you're just sitting there listening. You hear your name drafted to LA, and they give you a purple sweater at the time, not a jersey or anything. It was I think my mom probably still has it at home, but yeah, it was quite a surprise. I mean, everything growing up for me was all Toronto, right? It was Toronto, Montreal. That's what was on every Saturday night. We watched those games. So the furthest thing I thought of the NHL was LA. And, fortunately for me, it just, it all worked out fine. But you're right, that next summer, the trade of Wayne Gretzky was my junior year at Bowling Green. And I remember us sitting around, a bunch of us on the team, and we couldn't believe that the greatest player in the world just got traded, and let alone to LA. And, with Mr. McNall coming in and changing, the color of the jerseys immediately, everything, it just, it took off from there.
And took out pretty fast, Blakey. Let's be honest. I mean, you wrapped up your season at Bowling Green, and well, you tell me how did you get the call? Because then you end up going up and you play the final 4 regular season games on a team that's playoff bound, and you jump right into their postseason roster. Walk through what happened, how you heard about it, and what that was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, now when I look back, it happened so fast. It was after my sophomore year at Bowling Green. We were eliminated. I think it was by Maine or BC or something like that. And I went back and we had fall break, and then we're going to finish our semester. And I had a phone call from Rogie Vachon, who I hadn't really ever talked to, and he's like, I'm the GM of the Kings, and we're looking to sign you. And it was kind of the furthest thing I had from my mind. Coach Jerry York was at Bowling Green, man, I really, really trusted. So I went and I met with him, explained the situation. He had been through it with Brian McClellan, Gary Galley, George McPhee, and some of these other players that had gone through and saw the transition from college to NHL. And he's like, listen, take your time. You probably should come back for one more year of college, and then I think you're ready to make that transition. So took his advice, went home, finished the next year. My junior year was eliminated and got a call the very next day again from Rogie. Said, listen, we're going to sign you. I said, okay, this was our agreement. And, I hopped on a plane the next day, and it was the first flight I'd ever been on in my life. So I've hopped.
I heard that story that I thought that can't be true.
Yeah, no,
Never even been on a short flight at all. Nothing.
no, we drove back and forth from Bowling Green. We bused to Lake Superior State, which was the farthest. So, the guys on the team dropped me off at the airport. I hop on I think it was probably a Delta flight to LA, and landed LAX, and the next morning I'm walking into the dressing room with Wayne Gretzky, Larry Robinson, everybody, and actually playing that night against, I think it was Calgary Flames.
What was that like to see your jersey up? And like, where was your jersey at that point? Tell us that story.
Well, they put you up in a hotel right by the LAX airport, and we were at the Great Western Forum. So there was another player, I think it was and maybe Bob Kadowski, I forget who it was, another college player that was in there too. So I jump in with him, go to the forum, and I go down, and at that time, Larry Robinson was a defenseman there, and obviously watching Toronto, Montreal, and everything growing up. When I walked in, my jersey was next to him, hanging in the stall. That's who I was going to be playing with that night or practicing with in the morning, but I didn't know I'd be in the game that night. And then, the guys start to roll in, and obviously Wayne Gretzky walks in and comes over and introduces himself. And I'm like, well, I don't think I need the introduction. I see you, I know who you are and everything. But, just watching those guys on a daily basis. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better group and characters around, and then the owner and Mr. McNall and everything he did for the players to have that experience. I just thought that was a whole NHL.
Is it true you had a Larry Robinson jersey in your room as a kid? Because he was
Yeah, that was my dad's team was Montreal, and being a defenseman and always being probably on the taller side and everything, that was the guy that I looked up to the whole time.
Wow, that's what a buzz, and like fairly fast success, which is cool. Rob, I want to talk to you about the transition. As I mentioned, you were drafted by the Kings, 12 seasons with them. You won the Norris Trophy with them. But the Colorado Avalanche were looking to build, and the LA Kings weren't sure they could sign you to a new contract because you were coming at the end of your contract, and you got dealt to the Avs. You go into a room now. The blue line there is Larry Robinson, and of course Ray Bourque. Adam Foote's on the team. Joey Sakic, Forsberg, Patrick Waugh is your goalie. You don't want to screw up in front of Patrick. I'm sure you had some conversations. It was just a reminder of your listen, you're a building guy. You know how to build a winning team. You did that. You built a team that was very, very successful in regular seasons as a general manager. So you're part of the building. To remind our viewers and our listeners, Ray Bourque was wrapping up his NHL career. He had spent 21 seasons with the Boston Bruins. And the year before you played for the Kings, for the Avs, Ray Bourque got dealt to the Avs. And then you come in shortly afterwards. I think it was the following year, right? Was it almost exactly 1 year after Ray got brought in to the Avs to finally give him an opportunity to win? The Avs decided we need some help on the blue line. They bring you in. Now you know very clearly what the plan is here. And this team is like, we're no longer have to win. We have to win now. And you're on a team that involves Ray Bourque, one of the great legends on the blue line of all time. And I'm sure probably one of your heroes as well. As growing up, what was that experience like for you, being brought into that team when everybody knew this was a team that had to win?
Yeah, and I mean, fast forward till today, and you see these different organizations in the windows they're in, and say championship contention. This team's ready to go. I mean, that was the highest point ever. I walked into an organization that there was zero expectations other than winning. That's the only thing they had on their mind. And you mentioned some of the players in Sakic, Forsberg, and everything. Patty Waugh probably led that charge in winning at the highest level, and Ray being traded there. But it was interesting. About maybe a month before the trade happened, we were in an All-Star game, and I hadn't really known Ray too much, through the years and that. And we're playing in the All-Star game, and kept talking to me during the game intermissions and that. And then he says, "Hey, listen, let's exchange jerseys at the end. I'll give you my Avalanche jersey, your Kings jersey." So as we're doing that, he's just talking. He's like, most of the time you just say, "Hey, good luck the rest of the season. We'll see you again." He goes, "I think I'll see you in a month." And I'm like, what are you talking about?" He goes, "Well," he goes, "I know there's some things going on with LA right now, and I just wanted to make sure I got to know you a little bit better during this game, but I'll see you in a month." And sure enough, as it worked out, I was part of the Avalanche a little bit later, and as soon as I walked in, he said, "I told you, I'll see you in a month." And then we went on to win that cup and go through that run with that group was pretty amazing. But yeah, that whole organization led by Pierre Lacroix, and I had a relationship with Pierre because his son Eric was in LA when I was there, and he had lived with me for 3 or 4 years, and I got to know the family and all that. So, that transition was real easy, but yeah, special place to join at a time when it was crucial to win and they knew how to do it.
I want to ask you about, like, and I often ask guys about this. I mean, and you've attained it all. Like I always ask guys, if you could pick just one thing, what would it be? I mean, you won the Norris during your days with the LA Kings, so you proved you were the best on the blue line. It's individual achievement. You went to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Again, looks back on your career. That's something that people in the best in the game have said you're one of not just the best right now, like the Norris, but one of the best all time. Another major achievement. But then you win the Stanley Cup and you're there with the guys. How I don't want you to compare, like pick one or the other, but
Yeah.
what does it mean when all of a sudden you're part of a team that no one can ever take that away from you now? You're a Stanley Cup champion. Because there's so many greats, Blakey. There's so many greats in the Hall of Fame today who never won a cup. And there are so many guys who are on the bubble of getting to the Hall of Fame. And we say things in the media like, yeah, but the guys never won a cup. What was that like for you, the moment that actually finally happened?
Yeah, and I'm not sure you really understand it at that time. I think as time goes on, you realize it. And what happens is you go about your life for the next 5, 10, 15 years, but you'll go through an airport and there'll be a teammate that you played with there. At that stretch when you went through and you won the cup, and it's just you relive those memories. You're right. You're part of something that will always be cherished. Whenever I walk into the Colorado building, into the Avalanche, or see Joe or some of these guys around when we're doing our daily business, that their stories come up from that run. And so, but it is difficult. Listen, you could play a whole career, and you've got to be in the right situation. You got to have the right type of players around you, and fortunately, that's what the Avalanche had when I was there.
But it was your leadership, though, Blakey. I remember. I mean, you found out a month before us. We had heard rumors that something was in the offing, that the Avs wanted to build and make a serious run, and obviously they had just done Bork the year before, so we had kind of heard stuff like that. But what it does is it's a credit for what guys thought of you, because when you're looking at that, they paid a big price to bring you in, including
Yeah.
the draft pick. So when a team is willing to pay that price, they've got to be looking at you and saying, this guy not only brings stuff on the ice, but he brings leadership. I thought it was a huge telling thing. And I want to ask you what it felt like for you. In your 6 week season with the Kings, Gretzky leaves and the C is now available. And after they take away the C from him, guys around the room are looking like, who wants to wear the C after the greatest player of all time walks away from our team, with the C? But they gave it to you.
Yeah.
What was that like for you when they gave you word that this is what we want to do?
Yeah, no, it's special. Just being in that situation where all of a sudden you walk into the room and you know that you're in charge of the rest of the guys also. Not just yourself anymore, and trying to get the guys going, but you're the guy that's going to meet with the coaches, the GM, when things are going good or bad, whatever, and represent the team. So it's special. Fortunate to learn from Wayne, obviously, just to watch him handle himself at a level that none of us would ever get to. But post game and pre game, and how he handled the players on the other team's requests, and how he handled the media at that time, and just lucky to be around that on a daily basis, so that when I was into that situation, I'm like, okay, this is how he did some things. Maybe I can do it that way. And then that transition when I went to Colorado is that they had 5 or 6 of those guys. I walk in, it's like, okay, I'm just part of that group now. This is this will be kind of fun, but just so eager and in a situation where I could learn, like I talked about Patrick Waugh, just the game day experience with him and winning at all costs. That's what it was. And then Joe on the other side just was the constant professional with Peter Forsberg, Chris Drury, Adam Foote, these guys driving the charge. Fortunate and really lucky to be around such great leaders that help me with that day in and day out.
Hey, hockey fans, Domino's Pizza has game night covered. Mix and match any two or more of your favorites for only $8.99 each. Choose from millions of delicious combinations and get any medium two-topping pizzas, oven-baked breads, cheesy pastas, desserts, and more. With Domino's Mix and Match, everyone gets what they're craving. Order now online at domino's.ca or on the app.
I want to follow up on that because you said something that I think is very pertinent. When you walk into a room of great leaders, and you think at Colorado, it's very true, but no team did you play for that had more captains on it.
Yeah.
It had more Hall of Famers on it than Salt Lake in 2002 in the winter.
Yeah.
Mario Lemieux, Steve Yzerman, Joe Sakic, Chris Pronger, Martin Brodeur. I mean, Rob Blake, legends of the game. And you had, and on top of all that, you get to represent your country, which you had done on multiple different levels and multiple different times, even before then. I think it was in Italy, in Milan, Canada won its first gold, 33 years, the World Championships. You were part of that. Gold in Helsinki at the World. So you had done that before, but this was the Olympics and one of the greatest gatherings of Canadian talent ever. What was it like to be a part of that?
Yeah, no, it was special. And the World Championships were great. And then I remember the one we did win in Italy. That I think it was Trail Smoke Eaters, the last team to win. I just remember
that. Good for you, man.
Well, the sign was in the dressing room. I'm like, who is it? I didn't know.
Just to clarify, though, that was when we were sending a team there. It wasn't a team of all-stars. It was a team. It was the Canadian best Canadian team that we would send to the Olympics. Yeah. So
yeah. And those situations were great and you win, but it was, you didn't feel all the outside noise, and especially because it was in Europe and that, and you had fun in that. We went to Nagano the first time the Olympics, first time pros were, NHL guys were allowed in there, and we had a really good team. And I'm not sure we trailed any games. We played the Czechs and ended up losing in a shootout with Dominic Hasek. And
we've had Hasek on the show talking about that. Trust me.
Yeah, but we were. I remember watching that team. I'm like, this team is so good. They no chance of losing, and we lose that game, and all of a sudden the whole trajectory changed. Then you wait, a few years. Now the hype for the Olympics again. Okay, the guys are going to be back. Canada needs to get this, and it's in Salt Lake. It's in the U.S., and you meet the U.S. in the finals. So that was quite an experience. Lucky to be able to go with some of the guys on the Avalanche, so you felt comfortable arriving there and that. But I think we lost the first game to the Swedes, maybe. I forget whether it was 6 or 7-1. They called it their torpedo. We had never seen it. Wade was on the management side. He had Mario Lemieux, but he still had that high. Those two are so much further advanced than all the other players. And when you watch them walk around, it was that was quite a group there, and very fortunate to play the U.S. in the finals there, and just start to feel the pressure of a whole country. I watched the Jays last night, and they've got that same feeling going for them. So,
listen, you could talk about the slow start, but in the end, you beat the Americans 5-2 handily on home soil to take the gold medal at the Olympics. Is that something your kids were obviously, your youngest one didn't even born yet. Your kids really, do you help them understand the magnitude of these things? Like, do they get it?
Not
one thing. It's one thing to be a retired player in Toronto or in Montreal, where you can't walk into a restaurant without being, oh my God, it's, this guy or that guy. But in LA, you can get away with it. You can get your own space a little. Do your kids get the magnitude of what you accomplished in your career?
Yeah, I don't know if they understand that the Olympic part of it. They'll look at the gold medal, obviously, especially when the Olympics are on, and we'll have the TV on different sports and that. And but what was real exciting for us was just the family members. And it was funny. My wife had a picture the other day of her family, my family, everybody at Salt Lake, and they're all Americans, and they're dressed head to toe in Canada, and they got the the red leather pants and the jerseys in this. But just that whole experience of where you grew up and taking that pride, but having them with you, and that's what lasts over the year after year. Anytime you go home, I still run into it. They're like, I was at the game, or I watched the game in Salt Lake when you guys beat US. I'm like, that was 30 some odd years. Like, how you guys, but they're very proud, and they've gone on to win other gold medals and that. But it just shows the importance of hockey in Canada. It's the greatest sport in the world, and in a country that just thrives with it every day.
You've got a young family, so I'm not sure how many of your kids were born when you got inducted in the Hall in 2014. But I always love being a part of those celebrations to watch as you guys are up there delivering your speeches, for me to be backstage and watching the faces of your family. And as you kind of isolate, to my mom and dad, to my wife, to Fred, who was my coach in the minors, and as much as it's a time of celebration for you when you got inducted in the Hall, how special was it for you to be able to share that moment with some of the most important people in your life, and some of the people who were really, really part of what made Rob Blake a Hockey Hall of Famer?
Yeah, and I think that's what that whole process is. Kelly Massey in the Hall of Fame, they do such a tremendous job to take all the arrangements, the travel and everything away, so you don't have to be focused on that, and you show up there, and that's exactly what it is. You get there, and your whole family's there, all your friends, everybody that's contributed throughout your career are there to watch you the next day. It's not a relaxing weekend by any means. Like, there's a lot on your mind. And it's funny. I had three kids that we have now, but my youngest, I forget whether maybe 2 or 3, and maybe a little bit older than that. But we were debating whether we're going to bring it, because it's a long ceremony. I know the other 2 kids could sit through it. So the night before, a lot of the guys have a party. They'll throw a dinner or a party, and you have your family and everything. And we were lucky; we booked the ballroom at the Hall of Fame. So I had everybody there. It's 2 stories, and halfway through, I look up, and there's my youngest son grabbing a purse off a table and throwing it over the balcony into the ballroom, like, a big smash and everything. And I'm like, we ended up making the decision there. I said, I don't think a 3-year-old's going to be able to sit through this whole ceremony. So we separated there. But no, having your friends and your family, and sharing and allowing them to just see how much they meant to you through your career, that those are special moments.
Here's a question I want to ask you. It might make you feel a little bit awkward, because guys don't like to talk about stuff they do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I'm so fortunate to know so many legends like yourself in the game, and I get to see what you guys do when the fans aren't watching, when the public isn't watching, and some of the charitable things that you do. There was a special family, and I don't know if you're still in contact with it right now, in the LA area, that had 3 special need boys. And a little birdie in the LA Kings organization told me that you've had a long-standing relationship with them and made sure that they could continue to be hockey fans and enjoy. To the extent that you're comfortable sharing the story,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah, they actually, it was the first house I bought in LA, and at the end of the street, I really didn't know anything about what was going on with the family, but I would see the father out walking, and one of the boys was in a wheelchair at that time, and then there's a couple others. But as the story goes, they had this terrible disease that as their life progressed, they limited to wheelchairs, and I needed constant help in it. But all 3 boys had, and at first they'd be walking around normal, playing, doing games and that. And then, over the course of a couple of years, I'm like, so got to know the family a little bit better, the father in particular. And he just happened to be a big Kings fan. So then I'm, at a game or 2, and I see him in the corner of the ice, and, they're sitting down there and they're watching the game. So as it worked out, it became real close. Made sure season seats and tickets were always available for him, and had him come to the games and that. Then I ended up getting traded. And, but but I didn't want them to lose that experience. I could go on. I can play in Colorado, and my family and friends can follow there. They weren't able to do any of that. They were Kings fans through and through, and that's where they go. So we had helped them from that point on. Just continue to live their life the best they could and experience the LA Kings. And fortunately, that disease just took the life of them all, but they were able to experience the Kings through it. And, the organization themselves were so good about taking care. And you see these stories year after year of players that help out when they can. That's what our game's all about.
You're a good man, Blakey. I've been fortunate enough to know you for many, many years. How much has it meant to you to be able to share this journey? I mean, it's been a phenomenal journey for you, and obviously for your wife and now your boys. How special has this been for you, for a young kid from Simcoe, to be able to raise to this level, to accomplish all you have, and now to basically, not that you've left it yet, but that you've been able to give back for so many years?
Yeah, no, that again, that's what it's all about. It was funny. Around about a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I was able to get back home to Simcoe, where I never would in September and in October. My younger brother still farms there, and he had it was a busy week. The weather was nice. He had soybeans that he wanted to get off, and he wanted the field taken care of, and then I think he wanted to plant a cover crop of wheat or peas or something. So he's like, "Listen, you're home for a week. Can you help me?" I said, "Well, I haven't done this for 35 years, and listen, I grew up on a farm, but I was not the farmer. Like, I was the outcast, and that's probably why I ended up playing hockey, because I was not very good on the farm. But it was so enjoyable to jump in a tractor for a half a day and disc a field when everything was set. Like, I didn't have to do anything. These new tractors are GPS. I kind of just pushed a button and had a little joystick, and but just that whole experience, but it just gave me so much time to think of whatever has happened from the day I left the farm to now coming back to it. And, just like I said a number of times, but just fortunate in certain situations, and you make the best of it. But it is truly the greatest game in the world. We owe our whole lives to it, right? My kids are going through it right now, and they're going to experience everything through the lens of hockey. And I just think it's a great game, and we're all so fortunate to be part of it at certain levels.
Well said, my friend. Before I let you go, you've been really generous with your time. We have this little thing we call 5 Fast Facts, where I ask you 5 quick questions. You give me 5 quick answers. The first comes to your mind. You're up for it?
Okay. All right.
All right. Time now for 5 Fast Facts with Hockey Hall of Famer, Stanley Cup champion, Rob Blake. Question number 1, and I think I know the answer to this. Who was the best teammate you ever played with?
Best teammate. Wow. But I get 5 because I could go on for.
There's 5 questions.
So 5 questions, 1 answer
Per person.
Well, I don't know. The one that I spent the most time with partner wise was Matty Norstrom, and just the terrific human being, and the type of guy that when I was in management that I look for year after year after year. So hard to find these guys, but just one of the true greats that could be a partner for so many years with me.
Who was the best coach you ever played for?
Well, lots. I had Larry Partly as a coach here, Joe Quidville. The one later in the career that really helped me, and it was such a short span, was 2 years with Todd McCollum. And I was fortunate to be able to pay him back by hiring him in LA and bringing him here and helping us get things back on track. But he helped me for the last 2 years in my career, probably more than a lot that I had experienced before.
A lot of guys hated playing against you for obvious reasons. Who did you hate playing against the most, and why?
Oh boy, there's a lot. Theo Fleury early on. I mean, we always LA Calgary had a fun, and I mean, he was such a pain out there, but he was so good and so valuable. He'd run you, stick you, do whatever, and then could score on you. So he was there. And then the odd time with the East and the West when we have to go play Mario, just a whole different level of player with the size and the skill and the ability.
After all the success in your career, both on and off the ice, what's the one piece of advice you would give in yourself if you can go back and talk to a 15-year-old Rob Blake and give advice to yourself? What would you have said?
Boy, what would I have said that long ago? I guess just just enjoy what's in front of you. Like there's so many times you worry about so many outside things that really have no effect on what goes on. And you really don't, I tell you the truth, my first 10, 15 years, that didn't affect because I didn't understand the magnitude of what I was doing. It wasn't until later on that you get that. And then you go into management. Now all of this is affecting you, but just enjoy the game that we played growing up on the farm, growing up on the pond. There wasn't outside pressure. It was just go play, have fun. And I try to tell my kids that, but I sit in the stands as a fan and I'm like, Jesus, this is hard, but like I said all along, the greatest game in the world, have fun, enjoy it.
One final question. If you hadn't become a pro hockey player, what career do you think you would have done instead?
Well, I would have been a farmer, but I wouldn't have been very good. I probably would have had to been a farm hand to my brother. There's no way I would have been able to do that myself, but I definitely would have stayed back on the farm and yeah, but it wouldn't have been the career that I've got today.
5 fat facts with triple gold club member, Hockey Hall of Fame legend, Rob Blake. Rob, it's been great catching up with you, buddy. You look and sound so good. If you could, let me ask you one last question. If you could prepare your job, because I know you're not ready to leave the game just yet.
Yeah.
If you could somehow work out a job description of what you would like to be, or where you'd like to be and what you'd like to do, what would that look like for you?
I would have to be, I want to help the players. Like the reason we're in this game is because there's new players coming and they're great and they're going to be stars in the league. But we've been through so many different things and we had a development staff in LA that I thought was terrific. And our slogan was, I wish I knew that when I played. So tell them every possible thing that you went through that you wish you knew, so that they have those experiences. But it's so rewarding to help the younger players and help the kids in the NHL, and you watch them become stars and go through all the same experiences you had.
That's a great way to wrap things up, and I hope you get that opportunity to do exactly that. Rob, thanks so much for taking the time, buddy. It's been so great catching up with you, and I'm glad you're doing so well, and I look forward to seeing you back in the game.
All right, I appreciate it. It was a nice conversation. Thanks.
Stanley Cup champion, Hockey Hall of Famer, Rob Blake. The Overtime Podcast is proudly presented by Domino's Pizza. Hey, hockey fans, Domino's Pizza has game night covered. Mix and match any 2 or more of your favorites for only $8.99 each. With Domino's Mix and Match, everyone gets what they're craving. Order now online at Domino's.ca or on the app. Hey, if you miss any parts of the show, don't worry. Visit our website at overtimepodcast.ca. The Domino's Pizza Overtime Podcast can be found on Spotify, iTunes Podcasts, or any of your favorite podcast platforms as well. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at O-Time Podcast. Until next time, I'm Gino Reda saying so long, hockey fans, and thanks for joining us on the Domino's Overtime Podcast.